Thanks you guys for having me here today. Thank you, Pavan, for inviting me. Thank you, Tamara, for setting me up. It's really a pleasure to be here today. I love this venue. This is a beautiful space, and I'm very happy that I get to meet you guys. So my name is Rima, and I teach at the Miami International University, just like Renee. And I have to say that Renee really set me up today because my slideshow doesn't animate. So I feel really bad, and I'm talking about effective UI UX. So this is really, but I have to say that I'm using Pavan's template. So this is actually the way it came with. But you can find me on the web. I'm going to give you, at the end, I'm going to give you all my contact info. So you can find me on Twitter and all of those places. I'm here to talk today about UI UX, what it is, what is the difference between those two, is it the same thing, why do we have to differentiate, and why it matters. So let's get started here. Do we have anybody here that does this right now? Any UI UX a little bit? Yeah, Renee. Renee does everything. Yeah, yes, that's right, yeah. So let's get started here. So let's define the terms, first of all. UI, that stands for the user interface, and UX is the user experience. That is the X in UX. And there's a bit of a confusion. A lot of people think that that is the same thing because those two things are often mentioned together, UI, UX. People need a developer that does UI, UX, so they kind of throw those two things into the same bucket, thinking that it is the same thing. But as a matter of fact, that is not the case. So UI is not the same thing as UX. Let's have a look at the differences. So to put it broadly, UI is what you see, and UX is how you interact with it and how you feel while you're interacting with it. Here's a simple example of a UI. Maybe this is not the type of UI that you're used to, but let's say that this is a bag that you're purchasing, right? This is the design of that bag. This is the UI. And this is the lady that she got her bag, and she's using it. So what is the user experience here? She is carrying it on her left shoulder. She's feeling very happy because she has this nice bag. She's showing it off to her friends on Instagram. This is roughly the user experience of the bag. How is she using it? Where does the purse go? Does it have a place for the wallet? Can she stick the cell phone into an extra pocket? That is all part of her user experience with this particular bag. Roughly, you could say that UI is more of a technical term because UI also encompasses the design and the implementation of that design. So in that sense, it is a technical thing, whereas UX is actually the emotional experience that you have when you use a particular product, whether it is a real-life product, a website, an app. I know that you guys cannot see this graph very well. It's probably a bit blurry. My whole point here is this is an overview of the different areas of usability. This is every single area within the field of usability, going from information architecture to content creation to the visual design. So roughly, user experience encompasses pretty much everything within that field, whereas the UI, if you can see it here, is really just a small subset of that. I wanted to give you a couple of examples of actual UI, like real examples, not just bags. Let's say that this is a UI element, right? This is a button on a website, and this is actually the button that I took from the website for this conference. So this is just one element of that interface. Any interface, of course, consists of multiple elements: forms, logos, drop-downs, menus. All of those make up the entire UI. let's see the whole thing all put together. This is the UI consisting of all of those elements. In case you cannot see it here very well, let me just pull this one up. And you've all seen this because you did come here today. Let me see if you guys can. So let me see. Sorry about that. So this is the conference website. What do we have in this UI? The typical standard elements. We got the nav bar up at the top. We got the menu, sorry, the logo in the top left corner. We got that UI element that I just pulled up, our button to reserve the seat. We got a video. That is a video of a previous conference that Pavan did, I think, in New York. And then we have, of course, the speakers, the partners. Now, what is the UX part of this particular website? Where does the UX come in? So if I'm visiting this site, I come to this site with a purpose, right? I want to find out about this conference. If I am a speaker, my role in visiting the site is different than if I am an attendee at this conference. If I think of attending this conference and possibly purchasing a ticket, I have a very specific thing that I'm trying to find out. I want to find out if this conference is going to add value somehow to me personally or to my business. So what I'm going to find out here, I want to see if people that are relevant to my industry are going to be here, right? Now, it is no surprise that on the site we have, quick video, previous conference, adding some excitement to somebody that might consider coming here today. And it is, of course, no surprise that we can see the list of partners. Because having the list of partners, having their logos shown here very prominently, all inspire confidence. They tell us that this is legit, this is the real deal, right? We are building trust with anybody that is visiting this site. They're telling us this is the right place. These people are putting their confidence in us, therefore, you can do the same thing. Obviously, the schedule. The schedule is telling me not just a breakdown, but it is letting me know if there's going to be awesome speakers here today, which of course there are. And the user experience on here, what do I want to do on a conference website? What is the number one thing I want to accomplish? I want to get my ticket, right? So up, front, and center, and very easy to access is the call to action to reserve your seat. So everything that I might have wanted to achieve on this site coming here as a visitor is very easy for me to do. I didn't have to come into a drop down, tickets, where to buy. No, it is up, front, and center. So the user experience, I would argue, of his site is quite good. Now, how do we get to that? Right? What is the techniques, what is the research that we can do on our site to build sites with a good user experience, apps, products in general? So I'm going to go over a couple of techniques with you guys. We talked about this. But just to sum it up, roughly, UX and UI are not the same thing. If somebody mentions that in the same sentence, you should stop them. You should say, hang on, what are you talking about exactly? Because we have to make this distinction. UI is just a small part of the user experience. But in fact, those are two different fields, and those are actually two different professions. And somebody that is very skilled in one might not be skilled in the other. But as a matter of fact, UI people and UX people have to work together. Now, why do we care about it? This is very obvious, actually. It's all about customer satisfaction. So a good user experience will lead to satisfied customers, right? There's no frustration. How do I do this? Where do I find that? You know, what's the cost of that? When you give them a good user experience, they will come back to your site. This is, after all, the end of our goal. Now, what if they come back to our site? Other things will happen, right? Perhaps it's going to lead to increase of sales, more word of mouth, more social shares. Your analytics are going to go up. Other good stuff, so hopefully there's going to be less errors, right? Because users know exactly where to go, what to do, how to interact with your product. Ideally, less customer support costs, because things are easy to do, things are obvious. So there's less time and money involved in supporting your customers, and reduce complaints. So all of those are some of the benefits of a good UX. And of course, in the long term, improved customer relationships based on trust, based on respect. Let's talk about the money for a moment. And Renee, you said that the investment in analytics brought like $48 or 42?
Email, every dollar.
Email.
Yeah.
Well, I can beat that. So the studies say that every dollar that you put into UX equals between $2 and $100 in return. It's a rough estimate, but what I'm trying to say here is that the ROI is actually worth it. This is really what it's all about. I put up the sample. This is quite popular on the web. Some of you guys might have seen this chart, but this is basically what we're trying to avoid. Let's say that you're looking at a university website, right? You're considering a school, perhaps for yourself, for your family. So you're visiting the university website, and here's a list of things, like a little diagram, the type of stuff that people are looking for when they visit a university website. What are they really looking for, right? They're looking for the application forms. They're looking for the calendar, the address, a map of the campus, parking information, a list of departments, courses. So they're trying to achieve a very specific goal when they visit that university website. Now, what do they find on the university website on the homepage? They find a big old slideshow, right? That's nice, it's great. You got some jQuery on your site, but this is not what people are looking for. What else do we have on the homepage? Some promotions, alumni in the news, press releases, a tour, a letter from the president, right? None of those things really addressing the needs of the visitors. So we have to come to terms that we need to understand our customers, and luckily, the field of UX is here to give us some tools to support this. So I'm going to look at just some of the areas of UX, and I wanted to give you guys some very specific tips of UX practices that you can do yourself right now, involving very little money and involving very little tool support, because there's a lot of tools out there that can support this for free. So this is just a subset, right? I'm just going to gloss over these areas of UX that I believe you guys can apply. Strategy, research, then doing sketches, mockups, and wireframings. I'm going to go over those because, once again, people are confused about that and they think it's the same thing. And then testing. There was a question there on AP testing. I'm not going to touch on that one, but there's a few other tests that we can go over. In terms of the strategy, research, this is actually where it all begins, right? You shouldn't design any UI without having thought about these questions. First of all, who are you building this product for? Who's your customer? Why are you doing it? Has it been done before? Is there something better out there? how's your product adding value? If there's something like this out there, your product should be an improvement over that, right? You wouldn't want to redo something that's been done with less features, right? Why would you want to do that? So the user is at the core of this. Who is our user? Research that particular target market, the competition, the environment. So this is one part of UX. This is the research strategy part, and this is extremely important to do before you ever break out your sketchbook. Now, I would argue that the next step would be the sketches. And this is before, once again, Photoshop, Illustrator, or even wireframing. I would argue that sketches are actually at the core of UX. And a UX person might be doing a lot of this. So when I say sketches, what I mean is literally old-fashioned piece of paper and a pen and sketching out your UI on paper. Why on paper? Why not, on some sort of digital tool? So the thing is that no matter which tool you use, it forces you into those preset solutions, right? It gives you UI elements that, you want to do something different. You're creative, right? So you don't want to be constrained by that set of existing tools. Sketching is cheap. It requires nothing other than that paper and that pen. It's fast. And it is actually anybody can do it. This is a sketch from a Japanese designer from the Miiverse. And he actually built this. So he sketched it, and then he built the entire prototype out of cardboard. So before anything else was done, right? Now you might say, well, I can't even draw a straight line. I'm going to sketch, right? I never was good at any of this stuff. But you don't have to worry about that. There's all sorts of templates. Let me see if I can just at least show you guys something here. There's all these sketch sheets. Sorry about that. There is sketch sheets for desktop, for mobile devices, for apps. So no matter what type of product you're building, you can grab these templates. This is literally just a blank page, and it might have like a pre-printed phone on it or a pre-printed monitor with grid lines to support your hand drawing. So on those sketch sheets, you can sketch out even if you can't draw a straight line, right? That is not the point. Here's one, let me see. Here's another one that I found from Zerb. Right, so the idea is that your sketch goes here and then some notes go over there. And you can use these, print these out. They're available completely for free. And I have, so actually this is happening, right? This is being done. And I have on here, just for you guys, for fun, the original Twitter sketch. So this is how it all started, right? On a piece of paper, drawing out that initial user experience, which is, of course, that very simple UI of that limited text field. So you can start doing this. Hey, it worked out for them, right? That was. So that is sketches, right? So as I said, in my opinion, I believe that sketches should come first. I don't think you should skip that step. I think that is really vital to your design process. After sketches, you can go into the wireframing process. Wireframing would then be followed up by your mockups and your prototypes. So just to clarify a bit these different pieces, because once again, people think that wireframes and mockups are the same thing, right? You might ask for a mockup and get a wireframe or vice versa. So let's just look into the details of this. I have a couple of wireframes to show you guys. So wireframes essentially are black and white models of your UI, very limited in design. So we're not talking about color schemes, we're not talking about font families, we're not getting bogged down in any of that, right? Black and white, limited set of colors. The idea is that when you present those wireframes to your client, when you discuss the wireframes in your team, it is easy to just focus on the essentials. You don't get sidetracked by, oh, but I don't like that blue. Can we make that green? Right? We don't want to get stuck at that in these early stages. So wireframing is a process. This process is typically done with some kind of tool support. So you could be using, PowerPoint for this, but there's a lot better tools out there, and a lot of them are actually free. So I'm going to show you guys just one of them. This is the one that we're using at the school. It's called Balsamique. And let me see if I can pull this one up. So here's, for example, oh, sorry about this, you guys don't see it. So here's a real simple wireframe of a project that the students are working on for a recipe website that we're trying to build. So we started out with the wireframes, and really, as you can see, you're not even using images in this. Right? We're not even using the logo here. We're just deciding the rough placement of things, and very important, the navigation of the site. So how do I go from A to B? How are things connected? Everything else can come after. But once we have decided on this, we can move on to the next step, which would be the mockups. So there's a whole host of tools for your wireframing. I'm just going to pull up a couple of names so you see the options. So here's just a few, and you might have heard of some of those. In fact, you might be using them. Just in Mind, Axor, this is a really very complete solution. Some of these are free, some of these come at a cost. Proto.io, Flinto, and a whole lot more. Right, so the next step after wireframing, let's say you got your wireframe sorted out, the next step would be the mockups. Now the mockups are different in a way that they already include the design elements. So mockups are your comps if you have a graphic background. Those are your design comps, and they include logos, graphics, colors, fonts. And let's see, after mockups, we're moving on to prototypes. So a prototype is already a usable, somewhat usable version of that product, right? So limited functionality, of course, is not going to include everything, but it's going to at least include things like the navigation from point A to point B within your site, your app, your product. I wanted to pull up a very nice tool that you can use for prototyping, and it's free. You can use this one. You can get a free account with this site, free forever plan, and this is a good tool for prototyping. It's called Envision. Does anybody here use that? What's that? It's Envision. Envision, yeah. So it is I-N. And I believe probably these slides are going to be shared after the presentation somehow, but yeah. This is their site. Envision. There's a limited plan that is free. And this is just a wonderful tool for prototyping. Now remember those wireframes that I showed you before? We have already moved on to the next stage of this project. With my students, we're already at the prototyping stage for the same project. So let me show you what we came up with. So here you can see this actually includes now those other elements we had intentionally left out at the wireframing stage. So we are including here color choices, design, UI elements. But it is essentially the same project, right?
Oh, wow.
Now the beauty of InVision is, let me just show you this one. InVision is more than just uploading your mockups, because your mockups are still being done with a design tool, right? InVision doesn't replace that step. Your design is still being done with Photoshop, Sketch, whatever is your favorite design app, or your graphic designer, right? But there's more to it than that. I'm going to show you this app from a student. So it actually includes the prototyping part. So what you can do on here is you can define the interactions between screens and allowing somebody to actually experience this app without ever having built it. Right, so this is her landing page. And on this is a pet matchmaker app that she's trying to build. And you essentially go through and you choose some settings here.
Is this a preview mode?
This is the preview mode, correct. It comes with several modes. It comes with a commenting mode, so you can actually place comments for your designer, like, hey, move the logo up, change this thing around. But I'm in preview mode, and the neat thing is this preview mode, you can also send it to your mobile phone. So you can actually emulate the entire app or mobile website, whichever it is that you're building. You can emulate that experience right on your phone by just sending somebody a link. So but I can really experience this thing, right? Like, how does it work? I go through, I answer all of these matching questions because she's trying to match people to pets. And these are my results, right? Let me see one of my matches here. And here's the German Shepherd, and here's the breakdown of why she matched me, based on my survey answers, why I was matched to a German Shepherd, because apparently my personality is a 99% match, right? Not. So, but to give you an idea, this is really a step beyond static mockups, which you have to show and go through step by step. Having this interactivity really adds a lot of value, and you haven't invested a single line of code, right? This is the beauty. You know that the development is the most expensive part of your project, most likely if it is an app or a site that you're building, and you really don't want to get to that part until you have really figured out what it is you're building. Because making changes once the app is developed is really expensive and really hard to do. So we don't want to get to the changing part before we have 100% locked down what it is that we're building. So InVision, it's neat. You guys can check it out. You can have one free project. And it actually has a lot more things to it than what I'm showing you, but there's also support for uploading versions of your designs, and you can compare versions, you can comment, you can do a live share. So if your designer is located somewhere else, right, you can have a live share meeting and go over that design and actually see each other's mouse and make comments. So this was InVision, which is in reality sort of in between the mockups and the prototypes, right? Because you need your mockups ready to get them into InVision. So next up, I really wanted to jump into testing. So testing can be done at various stages of your project. You can do testing early on, before you actually work on the UI. You can do it after your project has been rolled out. There's arguments for either way, but there's a few techniques you can do, testing techniques, that are once again completely free if you're aware of these. So some testing techniques are card testing, tree sort, and first impression testing, and then also heat maps. So to give you an idea, tree testing, what it is you give somebody a particular task to do on your project, right? You say, all right, go to my project and get matched with a pet. How would you do it, right? Now, you provide them a hierarchy, which is basically the sitemap of your project, right? And in that hierarchy, you track where it is that they would go to find that particular thing. Now, you give this tree testing to a bunch of users, and you record all of their answers. Now, you see where users think that information should be, right? If they think that that's where it should be, that's probably where it should be, right? Similar to this, card sorting. This is where you draw out on index cards the different services or products on your site. You spread out those cards on a big table, and you allow your users to group them into categories. Once again, you don't have to do this with any type of tool support. This can be done in an office, on a whiteboard with Post-its. The benefit here is if you let your users group your content, it gives you insight as to how that should probably be done, grouped on your app or on your site. And first impression, this is also another great technique. So you give somebody, once again, a task or a question, and you ask them, or you track where they first click, right? First click testing. So you just track that, and that shows you if they are clicking where they are supposed to click, right? Maybe that call to action that you had devised, maybe that main button you had placed there, maybe it's not working out at all. But this is a testing method. We really have to test out how our users actually behave. There's a neat site that just came out for this. It's called 5-Second Test. And there is a more robust provider for first impression testing, which is called Optimal Workshop. And by the way, there's Optimal Workshop also has support for card sorting and for tree testing. So you can send out those tests to your users, and it will actually analyze all of the results, and you can access all of that data. Let me see if I can come here. Let's have a look at 5-Second Test. So just to give you a sample, right, to have an idea of how this works, once again, you can get the basic account for free. But you send this to your user. You send them your UI. And you give them a particular task, and you track that first test. You track that first click of theirs. Let me get out of this. And so the other one, Optimal Workshop, they have the same type of thing, limited free accounts. You guys can check that out after the conference. Heat maps. If you've ever seen heat maps, which are tracking the eye movement or the clicks, there's either way. On a website, these are really eye-opening because it really tells you where it is that people are looking and clicking. And traditionally, eye tracking movement has been hard to do because you need a studio equipped with tools to do that. But I wanted to point out this tool to you guys, Instructor, which lets you do heat maps for your users. So here is, sorry, you're not seeing this. So let me pull up Instructor. That is the site that I'm talking about. So let's suppose that you're sending a test of this particular page. Let's say this is your site, your app, right? You can build this, and it will track every single mouse move that the user makes, right? It tracks everywhere that they click, every form that they fill out. And those recordings you can access. You can actually view your users interacting with your site. So it's pretty neat. All right, so just two more quick things. I don't want to take you guys too long because I know it is about lunchtime and you're probably ready to break off for this. But two more quick takeaways that I wanted to share with you guys. These are just two quick Google tools. And I know Renee thinks that Google is your religion, right? It's my religion. It's my religion too. So, so those are a couple of, they have a couple of pretty neat UI tools that you should know about. So I threw them in here at the end just because they're super convenient. So Google actually has two great UI tools. One, which tells you if your site is mobile friendly, as per Google's definition of mobile friendly, right? They have their own definition of that. And they have another tool which tells you if your site's UI from the development side is up to standards. So is it efficient? Is it, is it well done? You might know that last week, Google switched around its search algorithm, and they're now taking into account responsiveness. So sites that are not considered responsive by Google, they're going to fare worse in the search engine's results. So it's extremely vital, of course, that if your project is in fact a site, it's got to be responsive, right? Some people on Twitter were referring to this as the mobile get-on, right? Because if your site wasn't ready for this, this was basically real bad news for your search engine rankings. So here's the tool. You can run this one. Yeah, probably you guys will have to see this after the presentation. But here's the tool, and you can just look for Google mobile friendly test, and you should be able to find it. But you can feed in your URL. Now, can I get a volunteer? Any volunteer to test your site? All right, let's see. Cosine. Like this, .com? Oh, .co. Oh, nice domain. Cosine.co. Let's see what Google thinks about it. Takes a moment. So you're saying it's not? Yeah, but you're saying it's not responsive? Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. So, but you know what to do, right?
Make it responsive.
Yeah. So these are a few things. And one more thing. So this is mobile test. This is just handy. You should just run your sites through that just to make sure. And the other one is how does your site score on UI? You can technically get a score from 1 to 100 on how good your site is actually doing on the technical side of UI. Let's have a look. This one is called the Page Speed Insights. And I'm going to take your site again, if you don't mind. So let's see how you're doing on this one. Let's get your score for your UI. Let's see what they say. Oh, no. So there's a couple of things, right? There's a couple, and these are, these are probably a bit more on the technical side. But these are good things to share with your developers to really say, like, you know what, I want to score 100 out of 100. I don't want to score 47. So this is about it, guys. Just a quick overview, UI, UX, some tools, wireframing, prototyping and testing, and those quick takeaways from mobile. And the UI test. You can find me on the web. I don't have any crazy acronyms, so it's just me, rimagerhardt.com, and on Twitter you can find me also. And here's my email address. This should be shared with you somehow. So thank you very much for having me. Let's have lunch. Thank you.